Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as we know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here with somebody who has many divorce stories to tell about one divorce, but many stories about one divorce to tell. That sounded like you were divorced many. You're not Elizabeth Taylor. She has many divorces. She has one divorce and many stories. And she also, interestingly, like kind of Jenny and I come from a wedding-ish background and then went through her own divorce. So, Amanda, will you tell us who you are, please?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Amanda Goetz. I am a 2-time founder, a 4-time CMO. I've been a marketer my whole life. And then I have my first book coming out on October 21st.
Amazing, which we will put all the links to in the show notes. But what we have you on here today is something this is one of my favorite segments we do because so much of the divorce conversation out there is like anti-men and hating on people and about losing and winning. And what we're all about here at Fresh Starts is education. And so I love to ask people what they learned from their divorce. So I know that you learned a lot from your divorce and you're still learning, but what are 3 of the kind of things that you learned from this process?
Oh my gosh, only 3. Okay. The first one I would say, and I say this to any of my friends or people that contact me, is know where your money is. Get very clear on where your money is. I divorced somebody who was in crypto and I had relinquished all of those financial duties. He worked in finance and I was like, okay, well, yeah. And I mean, obviously, I would love to tell everybody, don't marry somebody you wouldn't know that they would divorce you well. That's hard to do in hindsight bias, but yeah, like when divorces start, I always say like first thing, know where your money is. And then kind of the next part of that is mediation as much as possible. Mine went down the court route and it ended up being over 3 years, putting me into debt, only to still not get alimony, very little child support, and now have all that debt. So as much as like you are angry and upset, think about the long-term goals. And I wish somebody would have just been like, just get it over with. Like try to move towards a middle ground as quickly as possible. So that's number 1.
Yeah.
Big
mediation. No, mediation. I push mediation as much as I can, but also I want to make a really important point here because I think I want people to understand. You said this before, is that you relinquished a lot of the financial information. And I want people to also know, what was your job at that time?
Oh, you mean my actual job that I did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I led marketing at the Knot.
Okay. So it's not like you were like a stay-at-home mom, which is nothing wrong with that. But my point is that we have a lot of people who come to us and they're like, this never happens. Like if you have your own money, you have your own money. And that is not the case often. And my marriage was similar, and there's a lot of other factors that go into that.
Yeah, I made over $200,000. And here's the issue that I think women don't realize. I was a W-2 employee. He started a hedge fund, and so he didn't pay himself for 3 years, and he had control over that. And a lot of divorce is just like numbers and taxes. Let me see your tax returns. So he knew to drag it out for 3 years because it's the average of your W-2s for 3 years. And I couldn't quit my job and be like, look, I don't have income either. Like, no, I needed to keep making money. So on paper, I made more money. And yet he went on to make millions. And it's like,
Yep.
so it is truly understand. And I share all this not like to berate him or whatever. It's like to understand the games and the like technicalities that there are. And so if somebody is able to on paper and on tax returns say like, oh, I don't make anything. Like I don't have any income.
Yep.
It's a tricky slope.
It is. It is. And you're right. It's so much driven by numbers and data. I had a similar situation because my ex, who was an engineer, we got divorced during the pandemic. So all of a sudden, the numbers were lower than they were. And now, 6 years later, we're still based on those numbers. Right. And so, yeah. So it's just, yeah, I remind people because I get that a lot, especially people, and I'm sure you get this too. It's like, well, it's easier to be married because at least you have two incomes. Well, your money wasn't being spent in that way. So, yeah, I wanted to call it out because I think it's important as somebody that's been in the business and industry for a long time that people look up to you and you have your book coming out and you still were somebody that was in this way financially abused to manipulate the situation. Yeah.
For sure. Okay,
Amazing.
so
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that because it's not fun to talk about, but it's really important to talk about.
no, it's very important. And like, look, we're in a 60-40 expense split now. And even to this day, like he's in a multi-million-dollar house and I get the Venmo request for school supplies. And I'm like, cool. Okay, so number 2, I would say facts, not emotions. So much of my turmoil and pain in the years post-divorce was actually, and this is lots of therapy getting here, but actually me trying to find out if he cared about me, ever cared about me, still cares about me. And it got to this point where in therapy, my therapist called me out. I was reading like my long response to something and I was so angry. She was like, we need to deconnect. We need to cut the emotional ties. So she had me do like a bit of a ceremony, if you will. And again, this is years. Like I had been dating other people. Like I thought I was so like done. And yet emotionally, I wasn't. He still had the ability to stir my shit up. So I went through this ceremony of like really writing down all the emotions I felt and then burning it and saying, I'm done. He doesn't get emotional control over me. And so easier said than done. However, I have a phrase when he texts and he is poking all of my buttons that he knows what to poke. I say, what are the facts? I'm not asking him, what time should I drop the kids off? I will drop the kids off at 9 a.m. at this date. I am no longer letting him have the control over me. So I say facts, not emotions. What are the facts? What does he need to know? Time, place, thing. I need the laptops. I will swing by at 5 p.m. So that has helped immensely because like whether or not they care about you, moot point anymore. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing is allowing yourself ventilation. We all need ventilation, but then finding that slippery slope of where ventilation comes into rumination. Ventilation is like letting it out. Rumination is being stuck in the mud and letting your wheels turn and turn and turn. One is healthy and it's an escape for those emotions. The other is just holding you back from moving forward. And it's a hard thing. Like I was going through a divorce at the same time as my best friend. And after like a few months of us like picking up the phone, you wouldn't believe this, like, I was like, wait, this is turning into us just like spinning our wheels. So we started to then like set timers. We're like, okay, You get 10 minutes, I get 10 minutes, and then we're done. The rest of dinner, we're talking about our future. What do we want? What are we excited about?
Mm,
What trip are we going to take next? So like, it's important. And I think when you're going through a divorce, you find some friends that also, but I want to caution people too, throughout your divorce, you might be vibrating at a lower frequency and you may attract some people who are vibrating at a lower frequency. And that's okay. We attract people who are at similar kind of wavelengths. But as you climb out of that, be wary and cautious of who is still wanting you to vibrate maybe at a lower frequency. And it's okay to kind of move into this, I'm getting out of this hole. I'm stepping out, like, and come with me. Like, you are welcome to come with me. But if you're not on the same path and journey, totally understand. But like, it's also okay to start to surround yourself with people who are vibrating at the next frequency that you're ready to step into. And I think that that's a hard thing because you feel like they were there for me during
yeah.
this time. But if they're still at that frequency and every time you talk to them, it's just
Yep.
pulling you back, you can feel like, we were in this together, but you have to be aware that it's okay to go vibrate at a higher frequency.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So if somebody's listening to this, Amanda, going through a divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could leave them with?
It's so funny whenever anybody says like, oh, I'm going through a divorce. I'm like, I'm so excited for you because, and I know like they probably want to like hit me when I say that, but looking back, I was broken open. Like you are breaking, but I was so broken open to this world of possibility of what my life could look like. 7 years later, I'm getting married again, and I found someone who is so great for me. No one's perfect. So great for me. And I got to explore myself. I dated lots of people. I dated lots of different types of people. And with every single person I dated, learned more about myself and what I wanted and which versions of me what things lit me up. And so it's such a amazing cocoon phase where you're just like, I'm going to come out a butterfly. I don't know. I might be a monarch. I might be another kind. Like, I don't know. But like, let me just sit and like explore. And I think the biggest like advice is it's really easy when you've played the wife role and supporting character for so long to want to attach yourself to somebody quickly because you know how to play that role. Allow yourself to kind of step out of that and be like, no, like, let me see what it looks like to feel like main character and like, and which versions of me want to be the main character and what do I want to lead with in this dating environment? And then let that evolve and let that grow. But I'm so excited for people who are entering that journey because I wouldn't be where I am today had I not gone through on that roller coaster.
I love that so much. So speaking of main character, can you tell us a little bit about your book that is coming out? Because it has to do with that.
Yeah, so it's about character theory. It's really an controversial or maybe contradictive approach to main character energy because I found that in my life, I have all of these main characters. There's the version of me that's a mom, the version of me that wants to build big businesses. There's the version of me that wants to be a great wife and partner. There's a version of me that wants to drink tequila and dance on tables with my girlfriends. Like, I have a lot of main characters. And so character theory in this book is all about creating a framework and guide for women to understand how to navigate the different parts of yourself so that you're moving all of your characters forward and not writing them off of the script completely.
Amazing. Well, we will have the links to Toxic Grit in the show notes. Amanda, we always appreciate your brilliant points of view. Thank you, as always, for being here.
Thank you so much.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.